US President Joe Biden has stressed the need of increasing humanitarian aid in Gaza and working towards a two-state solution. Biden was speaking at a meeting with Ireland's Prime Minister Leo Varadkar during the annual St. Patrick's Day reception at the White House on Sunday.
And the Taoiseach and I agree about the urgent need to increase humanitarian aid in Gaza and get the ceasefire deal. Get a ceasefire deal that brings the hostages home and move toward a two-state solution, which is the only path for lasting peace and security.
Let's now take you across to DD India's Sarah Coates in Tel Aviv for more on this. Good afternoon to you, Sarah. What more can you tell us about the resumption of ceasefire talks this time around in Qatar, where Israel has offered 6 weeks of ceasefire in exchange for 40 hostages?
Hello. Well, we do know that this decision to send this Israeli delegation was made very, very late last night after the Security Cabinet okayed it. It will be led by the head of the Mossad, David Barnea, and a number of other very high-ranking Israelis. They are expected in Doha today, meeting with a number of other representatives from these key mediating parties who are really trying to push to get something done for a pause in fighting, to not only get these captives out, but of course to get much more very needed humanitarian aid into the Strip. We do understand that they will be there for quite a long time, and there really are a number of issues that really need to be ironed out after Hamas presented late last week its proposal of what it would like to see, and that would be the first stage involving the release of some 35 Israeli captives. They'd be women, children, the sick and the injured, in exchange for some 350 Palestinian prisoners. It would be during this second stage that they would then decide on a date for a full ceasefire. And this is the problem. This has been the major sticking block this entire time. Israel says there is absolutely no way that it will be agreeing to a ceasefire that would leave Hamas in power. So what it really seems like here is these key mediating parties, these intermediaries, really trying to find a way to get around this, to get these captives out and to get more aid into the Strip. So as I mentioned, this is expected to be a fairly lengthy process. We do know that a Hamas delegation will also be on the ground for these meetings. So it will be very interesting to see if they can come to any kind of agreement this time around, given that there is so much international pressure on all of these parties to come to an agreement.
Definitely. Now, at the same time, Sarah, Netanyahu keeps talking about launching operations in Rafah, which is literally the last refuge of the Gaza Palestinians. Now, how can talk of ceasefire and launching operations in this critical zone, packed with civilians, go hand in hand?
Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, he is adamant that there will be an operation in Rafah. He spoke to US media last night saying no amount of international pressure can stop us going down into Rafah. Israel believes that this is the last remaining stronghold. It believes that a number of these senior Hamas operatives are hiding there, potentially underground, surrounded by a number of these Israeli hostages. So certainly it doesn't seem as though Israel is willing to cave to any of this international pressure not to go down into that southern city, a southern city that we do need to remember was declared as a safe zone and is an area where more than 1 million internally displaced Palestinians are currently sheltering. Israel did last week put out a very vague plan as to where these people could go when they do go down into that southern city. One of the spokespeople came out to say that they would be moved to these humanitarian islands in the center of the Strip, although there hasn't been anything else really released on the logistics of this, how they would get there and what they would be provided when they were on the ground. So there certainly is increasing international pressure on Israel not to go down into that southern city, given the sheer volume of people that are sheltering there, and at a time when the humanitarian situation on the ground is absolutely dire. According to the United Nations, 1/4 of the population in the Strip is on the brink of famine.
Yes, it is a very, very bad situation there. judging by all reports. Now, what is the situation at the Al-Shifa hospital? Do you know anything about the intel the Israelis have got about Hamas's presence there, which has prompted them to attack it while there are patients, doctors, medical staff and others still inside?
Well, the Israeli military is calling this a precise operational raid. They put out some information very late last night, or early this morning, I should say, that they have once again moved into the Al-Shifa hospital. We do need to remember that this is the same hospital that was raided for a fair while back in December. We do know that many people are using this hospital to shelter. According to reports coming in from the ground, the military has now arrested some 80 men. They're also urging women and children to evacuate, to go west down the coast to these southern so-called safe zones. But certainly hearing a lot of reports that the situation on the ground is chaotic, that gunfights have broken out inside the hospital. According to the military, a number of Hamas members inside that facility have been killed, with one Israeli soldier reportedly suffering minor injuries. So it's certainly very concerning, given this is a medical facility, and medical facilities under international law are given a safe protection zone. But this can certainly be revoked if it is found that they are conducting military operations inside. Back in December, when this other raid happened, the Israeli military released video and other pictures of tunnels, it says, was underneath the Shifa hospital. Also, duffel bags containing things like rifles. So this is a place that Israel says it has concrete evidence that Hamas is operating from. Still no word on how this raid that is ongoing right now, how long it will actually go for. But according to people on the ground, it is very terrifying for them. It is chaotic. And we still do not have a timeline on when this could wrap up.
Okay, Sarah. Well, let's leave it there at the moment, and let's hope that the peace talks that are expected to get underway soon in Doha, they do break some fresh ground. Thanks for joining us.